What's up, guys? Sharpening maintenance day to get ready for some milling. I'm going to sharpen these up. Some 42, a couple of 36s, and the little battery saw here. This one's for a customer. Those three are for me. So I'm just going to let the video run, maybe move you around a little bit while I sharpen and maintain them. Try to get you the best view, but I got to get set up. The air sound will go off now. I'll move you away from the air sound. Air compressor will go off in a minute. So the maple that I'm doing is around 30, 31, 32 at its widest out back. So I'm going to have to run the 42 on it because the 36 will only do 28. So I'm going to sharpen this one first. This is 272. Probably do the 42 and then I'll do the little saw to get that in before time gets long. You'll be able to see how to do the little saw too. Try to mention anything I can think of mentioning while I'm doing it. I use Lorbe files. I file these by hand. These are full comp. Full comp Carlton chain, filed at 10 degrees. Give you a look at it. So full comp Carlton, filed at 10. I will I'll set you up over here for a minute. See where that's going to see to. Get you more by the vise. Right here. So you'll be able to hear me. You won't be able to see me, but you'll be able to see the file motion. Now I think I showed you this before, but I keep that one in my kit, in the top of my tool kit. This one I try not to use unless I'm in the field. And this is my filing kit, and I got more in there. If you guys haven't seen my other sharpening video, you should probably watch it. You take a Sharpie and mark off a tooth. This chain doesn't seem to be, it's not very damaged. The top plate, the top of the cutters is fairly sharp. I'll show you something else too. So I run my depth gauges, rakers, drags, whatever you want to call them. I run them at hardwood setting. If you can see right in front of my thumb right there, you see that little polished line? So that's really how thick a chip it's taken. That's why there's so much other crap on the back here, because this isn't touching the wood. The only part that's touching the wood is right there just past the cutting edge. You can kind of see when your rakers need to be taken down, that will grow more and more thin. If the top of your tooth is totally filthy, your rakers need to come down quite a bit, and it probably won't be cutting very good. But you can look through the chain. As you see that little line, that little polished spot, if it's nice and consistent through the chain, your rakers are set pretty well. You'll be able to see really quickly if you got a tooth in the raker setting that's not really good. But you know, these all look, I don't know if I could find one that's not good. So these were all inside the saw and they're all covered with crap, so you can still see Just get it in focus. You can still see where the line is right there, right in front of my thumb. So that's really all it's cutting. That's all it's hitting the wood is that little chunk right there. And the chip is that about that width. The rest of this isn't even touching. Maybe help you understand some tooth geometry, but no, rakers are real even on this. And when they're nice and even, it'll cut nice and smooth. Show you my files real quick. So I use Velourbe files. They're made in Switzerland. These are 7/32. Order them in 12 packs. I'm just going to use a new file because it's going to wipe one out pretty quick here. Normally what I would do is show you this too. In my kit, I kind of keep all my old but not totally wiped files in here. So when I'm doing a big sharpening like I am today, I would go through and wipe a bunch of them out. So what I would do is I would use them until they absolutely won't cut anymore, and I would take them out of my kit. I'm not going to do that today just so I don't bore you guys. But start at my my nice red tooth here. I'm just filing at 10 degrees. If you look down from the top, so this is straight across 0 degrees, and you can file them at that. If you're it'll cut a little slower ripping, but it'll cut nice and smooth. You can file like that. That's probably your easiest way to do it. I'm going to file them at 10, which is about here. They don't have to be perfect. I'm just going to try and get you in a position where I'm not going to hit you with my arm. But try to file right over the vise. It's really the most solid spot. So that was 4 swipes with a new file. And this Carlton chain tends to be pretty hard. See if I can get that to focus in on that tooth. Wait for it, wait for it. Where are those sensors? God, these freaking things. Come on, focus. Here we go. See if you can see the see the cutting edge too. I just got some crap on it there, but see that? Come on, focus, baby. Cutting edge is nice and clean. I can feel up, how sharp it is on the top. It was just 4 swipes. Important part is getting the gullet here, because this cuts. This is going to make the side cutter here, the gullet is going to make your smoothness on your cuts when you're ripping. That cuts the side of the wood off. If those aren't sharp, you won't get real smooth cuts. I'll show you the hook angle. It's this tooth right here. It's pretty good. You can tell this chain hit something once upon a time. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see how the edge there is kind of rounded, which isn't going to make a difference on this. If it was real bad, it'd have to be fixed. But I'm going to go through this whole chain. This one's 135 drive links, I think. Actually, let's get you up here. You might be able to see my motion better here. I'll put you up here for a minute. Get this mount right. This way you'll be able to see my motion as I'm going. So I kind of try to settle into 10 degrees right in here, and I'm going to twist and push. Not filing on the backstroke. Watching every tooth as I go. I am correcting any angles that I see wrong. Keep my arms right at the same angle, which makes it the fastest. You get used to 10 degrees, you can do it, really dial it in by eye. You can also feel the teeth that have got a little bit of damage to them. You'll feel the file drag. Chain doesn't have a lot of miles on it. It's kind of nice because the file fits in the profile really nice. It's cutting the whole tooth. That's one whole side. See how long that took? 135 drive lengths. I'll switch to the other side. Same thing, get my arms settled in. This side's got a little bit of, that tooth had a little bit of damage to it. This one too. Because of my filing pressure, I'm getting a more efficient cut from this direction, and the tooth's cleaning up way faster, which is why I'm using less swipes. I'm getting much 2 swipes, I can see the top of the tooth straighten out and burr over. This one was at the wrong angle. Back. This one was at the wrong angle, almost 0. Back. Almost 0.
Getting hungry?
Hi, honey. Not really. Huh?
I think I might take a nap.
Nice.
After the water settled before I make this outside.
Ooh. So how did everybody want to go?
Oh, hey! How come you set up over there?
So I can see the motion. Done.
Okay, you want them inside? Come on, let's go. Sid, say hi to everybody.
That's it, Sid doesn't like saying hi.
Very good.
So again, progressive raker gauge. Let's give you a, I don't know if you'll be able to see the tooth line or not, but hopefully it's gonna focus. There you go. And then down from the top, you can see the 10 degrees, 10 degrees, 10 degrees. They all came out pretty good. I'm just going to check the rakers real quick. Leave you guys right there-ish, yeah. Up a little. Just going to check them. If they don't need anything, I'm probably not going to go through the whole. Go through real quick, but use the hardwood setting. You need a touch. Alright, I'm going to do the whole chain then. See if you guys are seeing that far. Put you in a different spot. Put you up on the truck, hood of the truck. Do the whole chain. It's probably going to take almost as long as filing that chain through all the rakers, but they are sticking up the hit, just a hit. It won't take that long. I do them at the hardwood setting because it cuts the smoothest and because I'm cutting hardwood. Yeah, these barely need anything. I'm barely hitting them, but they're going to be nice and all even. When you do the ones that are closest to you, you try and file them at an angle that won't be so chattery. The ones that are going away from you, file nice and clean. The ones that are leaning towards you will chatter real bad and screech if you don't go at an angle. This gauge takes the raker down to the individual tooth, not an average of the, depending on the gauge, you got 2 or 3 teeth around it. Just touching that one. That way, every tooth will be cutting the same size chip. Means that when you're milling, it'll be nice and smooth. Won't be vibrating around. Normally on a crosscut chain, you probably only have to do this every, if you don't rock the chain, maybe every 3 or 4 filings. I like to keep my rip chains pretty close because filing these down a lot is a pain in the ass on these big chains. So if you end up running it out and having to take the whole, you know, having to take it down a lot, you'll really wipe out a file. And you only have to take it down a little bit like this, it's nice. And also this angles the gauge angles the rakers off too, so they're not flat on the top. You don't want them flat on the top because, I'll show you this right now. Let's get you right here. All right, the reason you don't want these flat on the top is because when you're cutting, as this thing engages the wood, this tooth will angle like that. And when they're flat on the top, especially if it's a big flat, the front side of that flat will hit the wood and give you a false height. That's why you want them tapered off. So when this tooth engages the wood and it cocks up like that, it's more level on the top. That's a good explanation for why you want your rakers angled off. If you look at that one right there, you see the general slope of it forward rather than it just, if you use some of those other gauges, the ones that bridge across the teeth, those rakers will get taken down flat. And then what you have to do is you have to go in afterwards and angle off the front and take that front corner off right there. So that's one thing that this gauge is good for. Takes them down, and it also adjusts for the height of the teeth, the shortness of the teeth. Give you a good explanation of that too. So as this tooth gets filed back and gets shorter, the geometry changes in between the tooth and the raker. And then again, when it gets in the wood and it goes up like this raker has to be way shorter to take the same bite when the tooth is way back here than it is up here. So that's why it's called a progressive gauge. As the tooth gets shorter, it'll take these down more. So it's, let's say on a hardwood setting, it starts out at like 25 thousandths. By the time your teeth get short, you're going to be taking like 40 thousandths off, or your rakers will be 40 thousandths lower than your tooth. And they need to be because of the distance between the raker and the cutting edge, because of when that happens. If you can picture that, I hope you can. Your cutting edge would be way back here, and you can see how high that raker is. So that's why the progressive gauge is better. So a little geometry explanation for it. Not that I'm just making shit up. That's why they invented these. The old time experienced fallers just knew that. They just knew that. They can, they go by feel. They can tell by the way the chain's cutting what they need to do. If it's grabby, they don't take the rakers down. If it's not cutting very fast, they take them down. They did it all by feel. Most good fallers, guys that are doing this all the time, never need a gauge at all, because they'll do it based on how they feel. And if their chain gets super wonky, they'll just grab another chain. They don't have time to mess around with this shit. The rakers are the biggest reason why the average person's chain doesn't cut, or cuts crooked. I'm going to show you that in a second. Actually, just so I don't bore everybody, I'll just stop right here for a second. See where you can see just real quick. All right, right here. So hopefully I'm in frame. This was given to me by a friend / customer. These guys were using it. They said it didn't cut. Can I sharpen it for them? I do all his saws for nothing. I just sharpen them. He gives me plenty of work and keeps me busy, and so I have the tools and I have the knowledge, so I do it. I sharpen all forms of edge tools. It's part of my business. I can run my finger, if you watch this, you may not believe this, backwards across this chain. Teeth aren't even grabbing me. They're not even making a mark on me. The reason for that is that they've filed this chain and they haven't taken the rakers down. The rakers are the same height as the teeth, if not higher. This chain can't cut. It literally will not grab the wood. It won't even grab my finger. And these little teeth on these, when you get these sharp, these things are like razor blades. So it should be really cutting me up, and I'm just running my hand across it. So that's why the rakers need to come down. Now on that little saw, I don't have a depth gauge for that little saw, so I'll actually check them like this. When they come down so easy, I'll just file till I like the gap. Once I do 2 or 3 of them and I figure out how many swipes it takes per, I'll just go through the whole chain and just do, let's say it's 3 swipes per tooth. I mean per raker, and I'll just do 3 swipes per raker and go right through the whole chain. And every time I give one back to them, they just say, "Oh my God, it rips!" And you know, when you give it back to us, the difference is unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. It's just taking it from where it can't cut to where it can. I'm going to take you all the way through this 135 drive link chain, just so you can see it didn't take crazy long. I do not only the teeth, but the rakers too. And what I do when I do this is I do a full maintenance, so I blow out the air filter, blow out the saw, the whole 9 yards. And when I start doing that, I'm going to take you off video, and I'm going to start another video on the next saw. You're not going to want to hear the compressor running in the background, so that one had to come down a lot. Good way to check them so you don't have to like put your head down there is you can go from the side, and if it's not grabbed, it's just sliding over the top of the raker, it's done. But you'll learn to do it by feel. You know, you always say, "Whoa, you know, the file will just stop cutting that." It's not really true, because at some point you'll wear the coating off the gauge and it'll be biting the gauge too, so sometimes it's hard to tell. And then when the gauge starts to get thin, the gauge will start bending under the pressure. So if you just kind of go like that and it's not touching it, you're done. So far so good though. There's only been a couple of depth gauges here that weren't, you know, almost perfect. You can really tell if I took you down the chain right now. Let me do that right now before I roll again. So I'm almost done. We only got like a little quarter of the chain to do. But if I take you and you look down the chain right now, if you look at the depth gauges on the top, you'll be able to tell if you're keeping up on them by them all being the same size. So if you keep up on them and you're filing everything pretty consistently, those depth gauges will all be coming down the same amount. So you can just see that they all look so similar as I look down. So this chain's being filed really evenly, even though I'm doing it by hand. It's being filed really evenly, because as the teeth get shorter, that gauge will take those rakers down more, and that flat spot on the top will be bigger. Yeah, sure. Only got like 4 teeth left to do. Oh no, I started. Yeah. All right, so that's a whole 135 drive link chain, all sharp, scary sharp. Raker's all done. I'm going to blow that saw all out. As you can see, I was milling an elm for a customer and didn't clean them up afterwards because we got back late. So I'm going to take you off video because you're not going to want to hear that. All right, thanks. Have a good day.